A warm welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. Do not forget to subscribe. So in this video, the top wash pads or wash media for 2025. I said I'd do this video a while back. Some caveats before we plough through and talk about all these products. These are mainly pads because I don't favour mitts. Don't like putting my hand in those mitts with the cuffs that lock on, and then you've got to pull them off if you want to get your hands free again. So you'll often see when those mitts are used, people don't put their hands inside them, they use them like pads. Well, I just think pads are better. Pads also have more foam in them, so they can store a little bit more sponge in them and work that, and they feel a bit better. Just my preference. Also with a pad, when you put it down on the surface and sort of put your weight on the pad, don't panic, but it sits on the panel nicer than something that's floppy and doesn't have that sponge kind of core inside it. So like if you put a microfiber down on top of the panel, it tends to just be where your hand is on top of that microfiber, where the pressure would be. The rest of it beyond your hand, there'd be no pressure and it'd be doing less. Whereas with those and a pad, when you put it down on the panel and it sits there, the whole square of that block is kind of doing its thing, if you understand what I mean. So it's my preference to use a pad, but not everyone. So that's one caveat to this video. You might prefer mitts for whatever reason. The other reason is when you're using a pad, you might drop it. That's one of the main reasons why you might like a mitt. The other thing is these are all tend to be like microfiber, viscose or wool. You might prefer a different media format like synthetic wool, which I don't favour, or the Chanel, and they're a lot cheaper. So yeah, that could be another reason to not appreciate or like all these recommendations that I'm giving you. The other caveat is that these aren't cheap, and you can go on AliExpress or the don't get started with that, and get cheap versions of all these for not a lot of money. And those cheap versions aren't always terrible. You know, they might be 90% as good for 10% of the cost, which might be a really good proposition for you. But I'm going to explain why I think these, if you're interested in just getting the best and you don't mind paying more, why these might be the products for you to have a look at. Let's work our way through them, guys. Just before we do, I really wish that there was a Chanel version of these pads with some foam in the middle, like this pad here with foam in the middle, but a way of getting your hand in it. The closest I could find to that is this auto fiber one, which is solid and robust, but it has no foam in it, so it's all floppy, and when it gets wet it's all floppy. And I wish they would do a pad version of this and also increase the density of the noodles, so there was no gaps in between, it was a lot denser. Or someone would do that. I wish they would make it like this GYEON one, but with Chanel's. That would be really cool, because I like the Chanel, you know that. Now, so the first product we're going to look at, this is the GYEON Smoothie Wash Pad, actually. This is the wash pad version. I think they do have a mitt version with a cuff on it. This is a pad primarily, and it feels stiff, and it's got 2 layers of foam in it. The foam holds the soap, the foam makes it a pad, makes it feel nice. The size is perfect to get your hands around the outside of it, so you're not going to drop it. One side of it is shaggy microfiber, one side of it is a shorter sort of coral fleece type microfiber that's quite dense. The cool feature of this is you can put your hand inside it there, and it's got this spring cuffless kind of loop there, which is going to seal on your hand and stop this sliding off your arm. So you can use it like a mitt if you're worried about dropping it, or you like something on your hand when you're doing the car. So very clever that, and I haven't seen many like this, and I haven't seen any that are well made as this. This isn't new. I believe it's Korean made, but it's solid. This is, it can take a bit of a beating, and it holds its shape. There is one thing I do not like about this GYEON product, or say I don't like, I think it could be improved. I just wish that both sides of it were the same with this rather than that, because this, you tend to see the little chunks of dirt in this and they're closer to the surface, but this shaggy side, if you get any chunks of dirt in it, it's just a bit shaggier and they kind of disappear into it a little bit more. So I think that is the material that I want to wash my car with, not that. You might like that for like glass or you know, plastic trim or something or whatever, but no, I just want it all the same. If they did that, I think they would be at the stage where you're close to perfection for me, and there's very little to criticise on. So that's the first one. What we're going to do as well while we're here, I've got a bucket of shampoo. I'm just going to put like a squirt or two into that, and we'll just load up in the bucket. We'll just load up with this product so you can get a good idea of it in use. It's not going to be so much, well, I could get more soap going, but it's less about the amount of soap. I just want to show it to you in use. Once it's got all the kind of water in it, it's a little bit heavier, but it's not too heavy. But it's just nice. It's nice. You can use and abuse this one. And they've got the, see what I mean? Once, if you put some shampoo into it, it holds that, and you probably wouldn't need, it will be a sort of like smooth, slimy experience for the whole car. Yeah, just very good. There's not much I don't like about this. It's important for me as well that when I've finished and like I rinse this out, I just want to be able to give this a good squeeze and give it a good hammering without hearing all like the fibres and threads in it start snapping because you're really like twisting on it. You know what I mean? You're really like torquing it. You can give that some abuse and nothing snaps inside. So it's very well made. That can take some beating, this product, in terms of, it can take a hammering, okay? So that's the first thing. Yeah, that's the only thing I don't like about it. The next product, so that's the GYEON Smoothie Wash Pad, 16 quid, only available in that size as far as I know within the pad. The next product, the Microfiber Madness Incredipad, the original one. I've got another one under there that I've had for 8 or 9 years. It's still going. This is brand spanking new. Now they do this in a XL size, the big square, which I think is this size, but I like it this size because I can get my hands around the outside of it. There's a few things that we need to talk about with this. The price, it's actually very cheap, or relatively cheap, for something that's made or assembled in Germany from Korean microfiber. They import the microfiber and machine them in Germany, which has got to add a cost. But I think that price is pretty reasonable, £12.50. That's from Into Detailing. You can always shop around, you know, look for the best price, but I think that might be the best price. The claim to fame with this is, one, the foam quality inside that they use is superb. That's one thing that's different with cheaper pads versus expensive pads, is the cheaper pads, the foam can disintegrate on the inside. It starts off soft and then goes really soft and floppy and then starts to break down in the wash, and then you have bits and chunks coming out of it and it's done. This is, it starts off a bit stiffer than other pads. It does soften down a little bit and then it stays the same for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. And I don't know, actually saying that, it is a little bit different, isn't it? But I think that's probably more colour. But that's interesting actually. It is a bit different from the one I bought 8 years ago. But here's the next thing anyway, with this claim to fame and USPs. This is not normal microfiber like 70% polyester, 30% polyamide or whatever, or 80-20. This is more a blend of viscose. And viscose doesn't absorb dirt quite the same as microfiber and doesn't hold on to it the same. But with a wash pad or wash mitt, really all you're doing is breaking the dirt off of the surface. You're just like sweeping it off the surface, breaking it off, okay? And there's not much dirt on the car relative. You're not going in cleaning a car that's caked in dirt and trying, you know, so all you're looking for is something that's going to sweep a bit of dirt off of a panel. It also releases the dirt better than microfiber. So I always notice with this, when I finished with it and I you know, I work it on the grit guard in there or whatever, it almost looks so clean that you don't have to bother cleaning it. If you rinse it out with a hose, you know, with a little bit of pressure on the hose, not a pressure washer, but the pressure from the hose, it's good enough to use again next time, provided it hasn't got full up with dirt. So you don't always have to machine wash it either. So this is all about top-notch quality, good price, and a slightly different material than other wash pads that will be microfiber. Because like I say, this is viscose. There is a difference. Okay, let's put a squirt of this stuff in there. You know, a little bit. And we go in here. So straight away I feel it's just a little bit stiffer than the GYEON product in the bucket. A little bit stiffer. We go over to our panel. Yeah, it just feels good. It feels a lot heavier when it's all loaded up, but it's just a great wash pad. This was probably one of my favourites, and it was one of the things I used for so long. You can see there I've got some little bits of dirt on there. Contamination. They don't come off with my finger. Then the wash mitt's got no chance. So you can see they're not aggressive. Yeah, but just brilliant. And again, you know, you can load it up because of that core sponge inside it. Sorry, it's going to hold loads of product. And if we just put it down here and wring it out, again, you're not hearing any twangs of threads snapping or stuff like that, so you can really wring this out and use and abuse it. Should last you, as a guy at home washing his car every week or every couple of weeks, this should easily last you 4 to 5 years, which is a good tall order, possibly longer. As a professional detailer using it every single day, maybe 2 or 3 years, but I don't know, it could even last longer from what I've seen of it. It might just carry on going and going and going. So yeah, and you can get a larger size one if you prefer that. I think the larger size one, it's harder to get your hands around the outside, and you only get a bit, it's only a little bit bigger. So the risk is with the larger one, they become even heavier. When you're doing the side of the car, you just have to be careful not to drop them. It's less of a risk with these, so that's why I like these sizes. Now, the next one, the Carpro DabDab. I haven't machine washed this since I did the video review. I just saw a little bit of dirt in there. So that's normal. It's a shaggy microfiber thing, so it will get dirt in them. Now this is different in the sense that the sponge inside this is so much softer. You can see the price, 14 quid. So far no significant difference in price. But I believe this is more a traditional blend of microfiber. It does actually feel a bit softer than the Microfiber Madness viscose offering. This has a tag on it, a loop, so you can put it on your wrist, so there's no risk of dropping it. I don't personally think you need that, but you can just cut it off if you don't want it. And it also has that label there, which you could also just cut off, or just be careful ripping it out in case you damage any of the stitching. So just remove that carefully. So quite simply, if you prefer a more rigid pad, then you're going to go for the Incredipads, because they're more rigid. They're also thicker. But you might like a slightly lighter, softer wash mitt, and that's what you're getting with this Carpro product. The quality is definitely there, but it just doesn't feel quite as robust. But I bet you though, it will probably last. So it's a bit more like using a mitt without that foam core in it. The foam core is a lot softer. Can you see that? It almost holds that flop with it. But when you get it on the panel, it's absolutely fine. It's good actually. It's a little bit lighter than the other ones, and you're really going to be splitting the atom. Again, you can still get all that product in there, and you see once you get that soap inside of it, you're going to have all that rich stuff going on. So yeah, the biggest difference for me, You can really wring this one out as well. The biggest difference is you'll go for this one if you want something that's lighter and a bit floppier, less rigid. I don't know, yeah, some people might like that. Okay, so now we move on to something very different. This is the original Dooka WashPad, £22 for a 7x7. Or sorry, is it 9x9? Oh, let's measure that now. If you get something wrong, people go nuts, but you can never remember anything. This is the big size. Yes, I think that's the 9x9, yeah. It's roughly the 9x9. 22 quid, and you can get a 7x7. That's roughly 7 that way, but it's roughly kind of 8 or 9 that way, so it's a rectangle. I find 7x7 is just a little bit too small. You'd want it 7x9, really, if you're going to do any other size. So there's one criticism with this Dooka, is that you can't get your hand all the way around it, so it is a bit easier to drop. Obviously it's using wool, and it's very high quality wool, okay, but it doesn't have, as far as I know, a foam core. It looks to me like it's a folded piece of hide with wool on it, and you can feel the hide inside. It must be folded over on itself and glued and stitched. Very nice quality. I don't think you'll find a better quality wool wash pad on the market. When I first started getting into all of this, or even before I got into all of this, I remember using my first wool wash mitt available from a local high street store. I went down there and bought this, and it was at least 16 quid, maybe even in the 20s, this lamb's wool wash mitt. And I bought it, and I was aware you need to treat them carefully. I used it in a bucket of pH neutral car soap, read the instructions. It says rinse it all out and then leave it to hang. Do not allow it to go bone dry in an airing cupboard or something, and do not machine wash it. So I didn't. I just rinsed it out after using it, hung it, and then the second time I went to use it 2 weeks later, it disintegrated when it got re-wet, like tissue paper, just disintegrated. And I had the receipt. I took it straight back, plonked it on the counter and said, yeah, I've used it once, I followed the instructions, it's disintegrating. They said, yeah, okay, no problem, you can go and replace it. They didn't have the same one in there. It was like a grey one. They had like a light one, another lamb's wool one from another manufacturer, I think, or maybe the same. I used that, did the same thing, used it once, rinsed it out, hung it up. This time I used it again and it was okay, but the third time I used that lamb's wool mitt, it disintegrated again on me. I took it back. I got my money back in the end. And then I come to the conclusion that lamb's wool mitts were just terrible and they just disintegrate. The Dooka was like the first one I used that didn't disintegrate and could be used continually and was solid and robust and really good, but also a high quality product. So the interesting thing was those lamb's wool mitts from the well-known high street store were a similar price to the Dooka, a couple of quid difference, but the Dooka was infinitely better. Yeah, and everyone used to rave about the Dooka probably for that reason, that it was a really high quality product. The Dooka then disappeared, like you couldn't get them, and I think there was some reason you couldn't get, they stopped making the original Dooka with this lovely soft material that's really fine and soft. And they brought out another version of it called the Osha, which was 30 quid. It was more expensive, but it just didn't feel quite as good as the original to me. And at this stage, I think other brands had caught on to the success that Dooka were having with this product, and then started selling, you know, their versions of it, probably made somewhere else, made cheaper. You know, and there you could get them for 15 quid and stuff like that. And everyone was selling wash pads for 15 quid. And then that kind of kills, or it makes it less profitable for these guys, because you're being undercut by a lot. And then you know, it's a shame. And I think no one seems to talk about the Dooka anymore. If you go on the Dooka website, you can still get the original, but you can only get 7x7. The rest of them are the Osha. So yeah, it's got a bit quiet, the Dooka, but it's still a fantastic product. So So if you want wool, you will struggle to beat this, I promise you. And it won't disintegrate on you. This Dooka WashPad, I don't use it all that often, but this is another one that's like, from the original video, like nearly like 9-10 years ago. So yeah, it's just not quite as easy to hold. It's a lovely thing though. It's going to be heavier on the panel as well. It doesn't quite hold as much foam as because of the lack of that sponge core, but God, it glides over the panel nice. It does. It's deep as well. You will get bits of dirt in it. You can machine wash it, but I just wash it on a low heat and then spin it out perhaps and then dry it in the machine. But you can also just pressure, you know, get the hose and rinse it all out and get all the dirt out of it, that sort of stuff. But yeah, it can take being washed in the machine. Love the way it glides over the panel. Always liked this. It is heavy, and yes, you do have to be careful when you're on the side of the cars. You don't want to drop it. That's the only thing with that. But you won't find a better wool wash media on the market than the Dooka. Very cool product. Yeah, it's a bit harder to wring out like that. But I suppose because it's not as, doesn't have the foam core, you probably don't have to do that so much with it. You just put it back in the bucket and rinse it out later on. Yeah, very cool. An example of back in the day, an example of businesses just doing stuff that's better. That's what detailing should be all about. People spotting an opportunity to introduce a superior product and going ahead and making it and offering something unique. Love that with detailing. That's what the Dooka was all about. Problem they got now, you come up with an idea and you're on a limited time before, you know, the other brands. If you come up with an idea that's truly unique now and it's really cool and it's popular, a bit like Detail Factory, what they do. Like I said, you've got like 3 months before all those other brands are going to be all over it, copying whatever you've done. And it's not financially viable to copyright a lot of this stuff, or you can't even, it's not, a lot of it's not possible to protect yourself, or very difficult, very difficult. So yeah, the industry is a bit like YouTube. It's a copy culture. So this last one, guys, this is the Incredipad, £14.50. So Microfiber Madness, made by the same people as the Incredipad, German company. Nice, thick, stiff core to it. Perfect size to get your hands on it. Microfiber, so it's going to pull and lock in the dirt a little bit more than the viscose, which some people might like or some people won't. In simple layman's, a lot of people would have struggled to tell the difference between that and this. You know, if they didn't tell you about the fact this was viscose and this is microfiber, you might not notice. But there's some subtle differences. That's why you could probably justify that they've brought this product out. But yeah, it's good. It's a lot stiffer, so it doesn't all different to the Carpro product. Holds its shape a little bit better. We know what we're going to get when we take this out here. Yeah, lovely. Perfect size, loads of foam, flat onto that panel, just really good. Really good. Let's just give it the ring out, make sure it doesn't all snap and crunch. No, it's good. Yeah. What you also don't want is all the foam like twisting around when this goes through the wash. The foam can twist and flip. That never happens with a Microfiber Madness product. Shouldn't happen with any of these actually. What can't happen with the Dooka. That's another difference between the high quality stuff and the cheaper stuff. You know, you put it through the washing machine, the foam twists inside and it's ruined at that point. Okay, what is my absolute favourite out of all these products? For me, I would say that's my favourite. And then I would say it's closely followed by these two. I almost want, I wish that bin company would do one every time I'm filming. I want this shaggy soft Korean microfiber used, but in this format on both sides with this cuffless. That would be my perfect thing. But my overall favourite, I think, is the Incredipad, for all of the reasons that I've covered. We've talked about sizes, we talked about price. In terms of safety of these products, it's more down to how you use them as well. They're all kind of safe. But all these products give you a lovely feel on the panel, and they're all real high quality. So that one's my favourite. Then perhaps these two. This product, I think, is that for me is just a better product than that because of that viscose. It's a personal preference thing. The Dooka would be amazing if it was 7x9 and I wanted wool. I think I probably prefer microfiber. All these microfiber offerings are cheaper. And to be fair, the Incredipad at £12.50 is also the cheapest of all of these. And it should last me years. So that's my favourite. Whichever one you go for, guys, you're going to get something that's real high quality. It's bin men. Hope you might not be able to hear it so much here, but it's like a howitzer going off in the background. What other ones do you think I should have put in there? I'm looking for like little USPs or little going the extra mile on quality. So that's why I shortlisted these 5 for me. Can't think of anything else that would perhaps make that list. Must be something else out there. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you soon on the Forensics Detailing channel. Let's do one final drive-by, flyby. Over and out, Doug.